South Africa's history of exclusion has caused significant political and economic inequality. In their struggle, South Africans overthrew the institution of segregation and apartheid. Significant progress was made since 1994, improving housing for millions, electricity access, improving education, and protecting the poor through broadening the grants system. Now, as the country struggles to come to terms with the lasting effects of separation and apartheid, it also grapples with a challenging social, political, environmental, and economic atmosphere. To meet the goals set in its National Development Plan, the new South Africa will have to adapt to these changing times and grow the economy and create jobs despite them. The World Bank Group's 2018 Systematic Country Diagnostic (SCD) finds that eradicating poverty and reducing inequality will require further progress in overcoming the legacy of exclusion, allowing more South Africans to participate in the economy. This will strengthen the social contract, reduce policy uncertainty, increase investment, and generate jobs.
So the aim was to identify the most binding constraint for poverty reduction in South Africa, but also more importantly, to identify the opportunities to overcome this binding constraint and reduce poverty and inequality.
It is a very important contributor in our review program as an economy and as the Planning Commission on how we have performed so far, and gives us an indication of what else we need to do going forward. What is also important coming out of the work that the World Bank has done so far is that they've identified one of the critical challenges that South Africa is faced with, which is inequality. And if you don't do anything about it, it may actually destabilize all the efforts that we've put together.
The diagnostic identifies 5 broad binding constraints. South African inequality in both income and wealth is the highest observed in World Bank data. Poor education is chiefly responsible for the country's inequality and high unemployment. Tenure insecurity is a problem for the poor in the former homelands where land is communal. In townships and informal settlements, many South Africans do not hold title to their homes, limiting the value of their properties. The unequal distribution of wealth puts pressure on property security for investors. This is especially observable in mining and agriculture. Investing in the poor requires strengthening property rights and their asset base.
The legacy of exclusion is also reflected in South Africa's relative isolation from the global economy. Not only is it remote from the world's large markets, before 1994 it was also isolated by protectionism and apartheid-era sanctions. It would be beneficial to expose sectors that lack competition more to both domestic and foreign investment, which can also bring innovation and learning. This can help South Africa participate more in the world economy.
Apartheid-era spatial planning remains a hurdle in South Africa, and in spite of some progress, will take a long time to overcome. Given how long it takes to overcome the legacy of exclusion, many South Africans will continue to live in poor areas. Upgrading those areas and publicly providing a minimum standard of living will remain critical. Despite its historical reliance on carbon-intensive industry, South Africa has committed to reducing its carbon footprint. This transition may affect growth and jobs in carbon-intensive sectors and mining towns. A sustainable strategy for scarce water resources will be important to ensure a stable water supply in light of South Africa's population growth and the competitiveness of its agricultural sector. Policy interventions to tackle these 5 priorities would enable significant social progress and a sustainable reduction in inequality. poverty may decline from 18.6% to 4.9%, while another 4 million jobs may be created between 2017 and 2030.
It would be easy to assume that these constraints must be dealt with by the government alone. That would be a huge mistake. The private sector has a role and must play a role in addressing all 5 of them.
Reducing inequality will strengthen the social contract and set in motion a future of investment, growth, job creation, and poverty reduction.